Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Gathering Paracast. I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Heidi.
And I'm Trost.
Awesome.
And welcome in. This week we're pondering Patty, who is the star of the Patterson-Gimlin Bigfoot film. And there is just all kinds of chatter about that right now, you guys. Holy cow.
Yeah.
You know, the original, for those of you who don't know, which I can't believe, if you're into paranormal, cryptids, whatever, and you live on this planet, you haven't seen that 57-foot clip that Patterson came out with almost 60 years ago, Trost. It was in 1967. So next year is the 60th anniversary, correct?
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy that it's so old, you know?
Yeah.
And it's nice that we look at something that's older than all of us, you know? So
yes.
There's not a lot that you can say.
No. So, and you know, it's Bigfoot, from my point of view, there have been just as many people saying that it's fake as there have been it's definitely real. And so in the last 60 years, 59 plus years, people have really gone over this footage front to back to front, whatever. You guys, what are your thoughts about it?
Well, you know, like you said, how deep people go into it. They've got each frame numbered and like got poured over and stuff. It's super fascinating. Whether you believe or not, it takes you to all kinds of different cool places. You know, when you dive into it.
I agree. I was doing some research for this and looking at just how much, like you said, just frame by frame, people are diving into the smallest of details. And I think, you know, even when someone digs up a detail, like the bottom of its feet or its gait or where the knee bends, you know, it's like, yeah, but it could go either way. However, I just don't think it's real. I'm just going to start by saying I don't think it's real. And I'll say why I personally don't think it's real, other than the fact that it's extraordinary, right? I mean, it's an extraordinary piece of evidence if it's real. But you think of how many sightings there are a year, Bigfoot sightings, right? And I looked up the BFRO, right? It started, I believe, 1995. And they have about, at least this is per the internet, this might be just, I mean, they have about 5,500 credible cases of sightings that they are documenting, that they have documented. And there's a guesstimate around 75,000 sightings of Bigfoot. So 5,500 are deemed credible by the BFRO. Okay, great. And have we seen any film that's even close to this?
Right.
So if the videos and the pictures and everything that we have seen are considered credible, what are the odds that someone bang out of the gate comes out with this amazing video of Bigfoot that has not been replicated or duplicated in any way, shape, or form since, out of all the sightings? And all the sightings are very mysterious, very just, you know, elusive, very not wanting to be seen, not wanting to be caught.
Yes.
So here's this amazing video of something that just keeps on walking, looks back to make sure you're looking.
Almost like waving.
Yeah, just making sure you're still paying attention. Yes, you are. Great. So, I mean, could there be the reason that, well, we need to pique your interest, so we're going to give you this amazing footage just to keep you curious for the next 60 years plus, right? Maybe. I mean, I'm not saying 100%, but I just don't think it's real because I'm looking at the odds, right? The odds of the numbers are saying to me, that's not possible. I'm not saying Bigfoot doesn't exist.
No,
I'm not saying Bigfoot doesn't exist. I also want to clarify.
Absolutely.
However, I'm not a huge fan of the video. Just there's that.
Yeah.
Big believer here.
Yeah, I know you.
Yeah,
I was waiting for
I
that.
am a big believer. And I am a huge believer. And a lot of it is based on Gimlin himself. And I also understand the trepidation because it stands out as its own. And I have my own secret or my own deeper, like I think Bigfoot has a sense of humor in general. And it's weird to define. And I think that if it's fake, I don't think it's a man in a suit. I think it's AI that was that we just didn't know about 60 years ago. Um, I don't think you can replicate the film and the movement and stuff. And it's easy to replicate because we know where he did it and we know what equipment he used. But nobody can replicate the film. You know, not only has Bigfoot not been filmed this well, big
Ever.
man in a suit hasn't been filmed this well very often, especially outside of Hollywood. You take Hollywood, and so I don't completely say it has to be real. But at the same time, and if it's fake, I don't think it's a man in a suit. I think it's like early generation AI that we didn't know about. And then maybe you could say Bob was, put under hypnosis, and that's what's made him such a very good witness. Because if the only thing that makes you doubt Bob Gimlin's story is his video, because like if it was just two cowboys that captured a blob squatch on camera, you might believe him more, because it seems like the biggest knock against Bob Gimlin's witness testimony is his video is so dang good.
Well, okay, so let's start out with when it was filmed. So over the years, we've heard some sensational stories, like they have said that the reason that Patterson and Gimlin went to this area was there were footprints found by highway construction people. Another story out there is that these highway construction people called in Bigfoot killers from Canada to come and take care of these creatures because they were bothersome. And many of these construction workers would leave. So they heard all this. So they went there. Now, the state of California, the DNR, says they had never seen Bigfoot prints. Of course, they deny all of this. Of course. So who do we believe? I don't know. However, and I couldn't find it. I looked and I looked and I looked. But several years ago, Trost, when we were having this whole conversation with Tommy Cooper, I found some story by a woman who was there at the time. And I think she became like a Bigfoot researcher. And I don't know her name because I couldn't find the story again. She claims she was there and that these Bigfoot assassins were there and that they had killed Patty's family, and Patty was the last survivor, and that they had hid her infant not too far away from there, and that's how they got her to cross in front of the camera, which would mean that Patterson was in on that, right? Is it true? I don't know. We just don't know.
As a matter of fact, I have some of the video that documents. Yeah, I have it right here. And this is some of MK Davis's work, and the way he puts it forward is there was a road crew that was trying to put in this road in this very remote area of California, and the crew was ready to pack it up and skedaddle because they were scared. And they did. They brought in people, and there's video here. I'll show of guys walking around with guns and dogs. And these were not easily scared people. You would think. These were people that were like living like in a camp while they built these roads. And part of the effort of the roadmaster to try and keep them there, and this is what I love, is he said, I made those prints. I was being a prankster, and they ended up taking a guy and they put wooden feet on him, and they pulled him behind a vehicle so you have that nice long stride.
Long gait. Yep.
Yeah, and he's like, I made those. We were just trying to scare you. Go back to work. And they didn't fall for it. But and the great thing about this video is it shows the trackway that they made, trying to show that they did it, and it's next to a trackway that looks totally different than the one they made. So I'll show that right now. This is this is super cool. That's awful cool footage, and if you recall that picture of Bob Gimlin or no Patterson with the cast, in the newspaper, it sure looks like that cast. And then they show it another trackway, and this is interesting trackway. And so, it ends up when if you really look at it, it shows two different kinds of tracks there. And so this is what actually led to Patterson and Gimlin going up there to at least according to their story, to go in there to find it. It wasn't like it was just random, and it's cool that you've got, before the film was ever taken, you've got somebody saying, "Oh, I hoaxed it. I just was trying to, and those people were like, we're out of here, and not easily scared. And so, and it's really cool. And I don't know exactly where he came up with that footage, but that's really cool. And and it's I think 3 minutes long, and you see guys walking around with, with some guns on their shoulder, and they're leading dogs around and stuff. And seemed pretty serious about what they were doing there. Something had everybody spooked and on edge.
Okay.
And he's like,
but looking at that footage, yes, exciting, whatever, big prints. As Bigfoot researchers, we know that those strides are much longer than that in the wild. We're talking 4 or 5 feet in between prints, for example, and they are never side by side. They are in a single line.
Well, and that's the point about that trackway. That long one that's shown in the video is the fake one. That's the one that they said we made. And you're right. It's totally different.
Totally different.
And then, but MK says if you study that film, you can see a better trackway right next to it. They were arguing, this is ours, and it's that's interesting. So. Before the film ever was made, there were people arguing over whether it was a hoax or not, and it turns into one of the biggest hoaxes ever, wow. Just awesome, the intrigue there.
Well, exactly. And so who really knows? I mean, there's no evidence there was ever a massacre. From what the DNR says, they were out there the following day or within a few days of this, and there was no blood. There was nothing. Because if there was a massacre of Bigfoots, which personally, I don't think you can kill a Bigfoot because I believe they're interdimensional. You can't kill them, But there was no evidence of this. But yet there are people who swear, on their mama's grave that this is true, Is it? I don't know. There are just, the speculation has always been, is it real? Is it fake? And then they say, but is there a suit out there that even looks that way? But then I always point at Chewbacca from Star Wars. And yes, that was state of the art. Chewbacca was cool, man. But who do you think Chewbacca is made after? A Bigfoot. So don't you think they could have had a suit that was maybe the first generation Chewbacca, that was out there? I don't. It's hard to say. It is really hard to say. It is phenomenal footage. And if it's real, awesome, right? The fact that it's a female, too. How interesting. Why would they pick a female anatomy?
Those
I
That's
mean,
just some interesting. That's some interesting detail right there. Yeah. Matter of fact,
exactly.
speaking of the suit, I think that's at the center of the capturing
Yep.
Bigfoot.
Yes.
And I've got a couple of their trailers, and the trailers
Yeah.
themselves are kind of cool. So how about I show those now?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right,
Let's
here
do
we
it.
go.
This is going to change everything.
So that's a little bit of a teaser there, and kind of right along with what we've already been talking about. But then they go a little step further with this next one, and this is where you start to get into the mystery of or of the gist behind their film.
Yeah.
This is going to change everything.
Yes. And
They
it
make
did change
they make a
everything.
good trailer.
Yeah, it is a good trailer.
And yeah.
And
And so
so
you get into that. You get into, is there a
few of
lost
us,
film now?
yeah, right. And so the premise of the Capturing Bigfoot documentary is that, so I think a few weeks ago we were on the show and it had just shown at South by Southwest. And I was saying how, my God, all the Bigfoot researchers are just losing their minds over this documentary. And, it proves that the Patterson footage was a hoax. And what does that mean? Nothing. Even if it was a hoax, we still know Bigfoot is real. We still know Bigfoot is out there. So it doesn't change a whole lot, except that no one still has clear video of Bigfoot, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
and why
Yeah.
is that? I mean, we've heard countless times, and I think some of us have experienced it out in the woods where you just feel kind of strange and you're not yourselves, and you're the last thing and I've often said this. I can look them in the face and I bet I won't have the wherewithal to get out the phone to take a picture or the camera or whatever, because supposedly they have that mesmerizing effect on people, on humans, which is why they've never been shot. You're photographed is what I mean, or videoed or whatever. And, the frequencies, like Alan is always talking about, the frequencies of all these things stop them dead in their tracks. They know this is going on, and so they're not going to go anywhere near you, But the premise of the film was, so Patterson and Gimlin were cowboys back in the 60s. They had an interest in Bigfoot. They had a friend who worked at Boeing, and they actually got a hold of a camera and a Bigfoot suit in 1966, and the footage they found, it was an undeveloped film. It was in the safe of this friend of theirs that worked for Boeing. His daughter found it, and she worked for one of the colleges out there, and she turned it over to a friend of hers who was Mark Evans, who was the producer of Capturing Bigfoot. They got it developed digitally. Oh my gosh, the world exploded, and they said, well, this proves that the Patterson Gimlin film is a fake, right? Because there they were all filming this in a very similar location to the Bluff Creek area, of a guy in a suit, a skinnier Bigfoot, but nonetheless, kind of the same walk, the same stance, the same everything in Yakima, Washington, and then they went down the next following year to California. But that doesn't necessarily end. Okay, so then the other thing is that this producer spent lots of time with Patterson's son, Clint, who claimed that they all knew it was a fake, that his dad passed away not too long after that film was made. I think it was within 5 years. And he wanted to make sure the family was financially secure. So this is the other thing about it, right? So the hoaxiness, is it a hoax? who knows? And I don't think the documentary, and I've never seen it. I can't wait to see it. But who knows when the rest of us will be able to see it.
Right.
They're not saying that it's a hoax per se, but what they are saying is all of these things that they have discovered from the people who were around at that time, right? And this guy kept it locked in a safe because he didn't want anything to do with it, right? And because, oh my God, he could lose his credibility and his job at Boeing. And, that was a good job. It still is, So
Yeah.
lots of twists and turns in this whole story. And, Gimlin, I mean, they say, I don't even know. I have met him, and he was at one of the Bigfoot conferences I was at. I mean, he was just a guy, right? I mean, I just, and I couldn't believe all the researchers there were like, oh my God, hail Gimlin. It was almost like that kind of a thing. And I'm like,
yeah.
why do you feel this way? Heidi, you might have been at that one, actually. It was that in Kentucky. And I remember saying to the guys that were over from our booth, what is so great about him? Okay, so he was there during the filming of this. I personally don't believe it's real. But even if it is, many of us have been out in the woods and experienced Bigfoot. So why are we, doing this? And they were so mad at me, and they haven't talked to me since. I'm serious.
Really?
It was like,
that's funny because I have to admit, I have some hero worship. I do kind of fall into that. I really I love the guy, and I think he's a fantastic witness. But I tend to be that way. I do definitely, I can definitely be snookered. And that's all right. But yes,
I have heard. Well, go ahead.
It's interesting because this one film, every time there's new technology that comes out, everybody applies it to this film. Like if AI right now, everybody's going after it. And including MK, as soon as they had that editing stuff. The colorization, when that started coming out as easily accessible. And I have another one here from Thinker Thunker. This one's really good. And it's cool because it seems like we use this film to play with all the different technology whenever it comes out.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You get like the facial stuff, and that could be completely wrong. It's definitely not proof. It could be wrong. But every time that there's a cool new gadget that comes out, everybody's like, "Oh, we got to apply it to Patty." And it even makes you kind of wonder about like the timing of this movie. Like, like right now, AI throws into doubt every single video, especially good ones. It's obviously AI because it's good, and that's not, and that's kind of what I was thinking. Like, if it's fake, to me, I think it's first generation AI, and it might be. It would have to be a part of a huge, grand conspiracy that. And I'm a conspiracy guy.
I know.
It would have to be pretty, grandiose, I think, to pull it off. But maybe they did, and then even like hypnosis, if you can follow this Patty film, and Bob's been under hypnosis, at least once, and like that's pretty interesting stuff, and it's stuff that maybe a lot of the people that are in our field wouldn't get exposed to if it wasn't for Bigfoot, like quantum stuff, people would just, well, let's explain this. And suddenly, well, here's an explanation. And, without Bigfoot in the picture, a lot of us wouldn't have any idea what quantum is.
Oh, for sure.
Colorization of films and stuff, it's either like you're either into like Civil War stuff or Bigfoot for colorization. And, and that's really cool stuff there. And for me, like every new technology that gets applied to it, it's just using that technology's imagination. A lot of we all have some bit of pareidolia in us. So some people see, I can see that that's got a flat foot. Well, that might be pixelation. Even like the realisticness of Patty's breasts, that might be just picture perfect pixelation that you couldn't, that made it look that way. We all have a little bit of pareidolia, and some of us can see, Bigfoot, and some of us can see dozens of Bigfoot in a picture.
For sure.
And is it any different when you say, oh, the colorization proves that it's a fake or proves that it's real? You're just you're messing around with old film, and even when they shot that, they didn't, like when we film things now, we can see what we're capturing, and we have our screens and our telephone. So those guys, they had used that equipment, and then you got to go develop the film.
Yeah. So they had no idea.
No idea.
Well, and here's the other thing, and I've long been a proponent that it's a fake from day one, but to their credit, that film was shaky like this. Now, don't you think if they were going to fake this, they would have put the camera on a tripod so that it was stable when they
right.
Cut. The story was they were on horseback. They saw this. Oh my God. So they got down and the camera is like all over the place. I don't know. There's lots of fors against.
I would love to
know.
But
it would be awesome to go.
For the fake part though, like if you were going to fake something, I wouldn't want a clear, non-moving camera. I'd want a camera that's juggling all over the place so that it's hard. You just see enough, right? And then it takes out some of the like clean look of whatever it is that they're faking, if it's a fake, right? Which I do think that this isn't a real film, but I think if it was me and I was trying to fake something, I'd make it a little harder to see it.
Well, right, but
so I'd be moving around like, oh my gosh, there it is. I'm like jumping all over.
Heidi, because we've been duped so many times. 60 years ago, I'm not sure that their minds would have thought that far ahead. You know what I mean? I don't know. I'm playing the devil's advocate here because I don't think it was real either.
People have been faking stuff forever. They know how to
fake it. It is true.
And video or film had been around for a long time at that point. So I think that they would be smart enough to do that. If they're like, we'll just take a little bit of that cleanness out.
Yeah.
As we're making this so that it's hard to see.
We just don't know.
When I was in ninth grade, I had a really bad report card, and I forged my report card. But when I did too, I messed it up, so it was all beat up. And I changed it. And back then back then they were printed out, so it was like and
Absolutely.
I'm known for being messy anyway. So like, oh, here it is. I got caught. But like you said, I was trying though. I was trying,
Yeah, I
even had to change my GPA.
Yeah. Well, listen, true or fake doesn't matter. This film has brought so much attention to Bigfoots and cryptids, even the paranormal field, for 60 years, that kudos to Patterson and Gimlin for shooting it, for putting it out there, real or fake. I don't think we're ever going to know the answer to that, ever. That died in the grave with Patterson, and Gimlin will never say. Did they do a trial one? Sure, they did, and they say that the son says he saw them burn the suit from the trial run. So they say. I have no idea. I'm just saying what
I wasn't sure if they had the suit or what the story was about what happened to the suit itself.
Yeah, he says he saw his dad burn the suit piece by piece in a garbage can behind their garage. I think after the real one came out. So could be either or, but the claims are it was from the first trial run. I don't know.
And Patterson had there was some shiftiness, and especially to Patterson, like he was a bit of a bad boy. And I think one of
He was.
his last public statements was, it probably happened to the worst person it could have happened to,
Yes.
is what he
Yes.
said,
I
because
read
of
that
the
too.
believability there. Yeah.
I read that
Yeah.
too.
And that's,
And
which kind of, I love the imperfect hero. And so that one's always really appealed to me there,
And the man MK that you showed some of his work here on the show, he has been working on this for literally decades. So I just wanted to do a shout out to him. Whether you agree with him, disagree with him, it doesn't matter. This man has been spending hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and thousands of hours on this film. He's the one that stabilized it. He's the one that colorized it. He's the one that's been going over this whole thing. He's been to the Bluff Creek many times, So it has been, so kudos to him. Hats off. And like I said, will we ever know if it's real or fake? No, we won't. But it gives us
one more prop to MK. His stuff has never been behind a paywall either. It's easy. No. You just got to go find it, and you don't have to pay for MK stuff. It's a lot of it's on YouTube, but there's a lot. And
there's
so,
a lot.
Yeah,
he guests on podcasts too. I'm almost thinking we should ask him to be on at some point.
Yeah, because he's never for me. He's probably like, oh, there's that fanboy guy again.
Yeah. Well, and here I will say, so you mentioned the BFRO, Heidi, and Matt Moneymaker is the president of the BFRO, and he is staunchly defending the Patterson-Gimlin film. He says it is real, and there is no way it can be fake. And he points to the things like the muscles. You can see the muscles moving and all this, that, and the other thing. And on the other hand, I have also heard reports that he is one of Gimlin's handlers. And so he knows the real truth too, the dark side of the story.
Yes, there's the conspiracies. Yes.
Another conspiracy theory, right?
But
that's awesome.
If a video like that, I mean, especially for Matt Moneymaker, if a video like that, if that's something he can support, which keeps people 60 years later interested in Bigfoot, then heck yeah, he's going to support it because that supports him doing his work. If people drop off the map going, Bigfoot's not real, everything's a hoax, then he goes out of business too. So, and I'm not saying, I mean, the work he's doing is great, all that, but I can see where he would defend something that also is in some way, shape, or form supporting his career, because this is like a huge foundation piece to Bigfoot exploration and searching.
Yes.
Yeah. Sure. You're exactly right. There's definitely a motivation there.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So
intriguing.
I don't know. I have seen real pictures, I think are real pictures, but I mean from different people that I have met along the way who are not researchers, who are just Joes in the wood and have seen something extraordinary and actually gotten a picture. And it's like when you see these pictures, when I've seen these pictures, I'm just like, oh, and they don't show them to you until they trust you, right? Until you've talked to them for a long time and they realize, hey, this chick is okay, man. She's not gonna do anything weird, and she's not gonna think I'm crazy and insane and whatever. I'm gonna show her what I have. And it's like then you show them, and at first you can't see it. The one I specifically remember was taken way up north, and it was actually a Native American elder who showed me this picture. And he said, "What do you see?" And I said, "Well, I see some pretty woods up there, And then he says, "Look right there." And then when you see it, you can't unsee it. And it's like, oh, I just went just like that. And I'm like, oh my God, it was just so bizarre, and I have seen others as well. And it's like every time, and it's like, well, can I have a copy? No.
I hear you.
Them, right?
Yes. By the way, you got copies of that?
Can I take a picture of it with my camera? No. They won't do it. Because it's and for them, it's a cultural thing, right? They're not going to share that with anybody. I get it. But I'm so thankful that they showed it to me, because how exciting was that? I was just like, I just gasped, and I'm like, I couldn't stop looking at it. It was just totally amazing. But that was a long time ago. But yeah, so
That's awesome.
anyway, cool subject, cool story. If that massacre really did happen at Bluff Creek, and that is the true story behind it, how sad and how heartbreaking.
Mhm.
And I sure hope that is not the case and that it was just totally made up. But again,
Yes.
we will never know, you know?
Mhm.
So there's
Yeah, and that's a deep conspiracy there, and
Yes.
and I do definitely venture down some of those rabbit holes, and that one's
Mhm.
that one kind of takes you
Yes, breath
out there a
away.
little
And
bit
it's
there.
like
Yeah,
tears
yeah.
almost. And it was this, like I said, this woman that had this perspective from, I don't know, I found it like 8 years ago or something. And I remember, I think I was texting you and Tommy about it. And I'm like, oh my God, what if this is real? Even though we kept having this conversation, is it real? Is it not? I kept saying no. You guys kept saying yes. And I'm like, but what if this is real? But I mean, you know what I
Yes.
mean?
Are you talking about using the kid as bait? Is that the part you're
Yes.
talking about?
So they
Yeah,
say
so-
the
Mhm.
story goes that these killers came in and killed her whole family and the whole
Right.
group, and they had her infant that was dead.
I don't know.
Right?
Here's
Mhm.
the
They had
deal.
put it.
Have
That's
you
what they
ever
say,
I
and that she was looking for the baby when they filmed this.
I
But
don't
he was not there.
so I mean part of that too just is ludicrous to me because if you have ever witnessed any being that believes
Mhm.
their child is in danger, they're not going to be strolling through the woods
And
like
kind of
that,
almost waving. Yeah.
especially with the awareness that they have about humans, which might be considered some kind of predator or enemy,
Mhm.
especially if
Mhm.
they had anyone in that group had been connected
Yes.
to any kind of massacre of
Right.
their relatives, their other beings. They're going to smell it, they're going to
Yep.
know it. And here is this being just strolling through the woods with a casual look over the shoulder. You just killed my family and I'm just going to keep on
I'm just
going.
gonna look at you. I would
No.
think she'd be over there tearing them limb by limb,
Right.
you know,
Right.
personally.
This
Right.
But
And frantically searching for her
yes.
offspring. Frantic
Yes.
or
Absolutely.
this
enraged. So no
the
emotion.
story the way I understood it wasn't that she was getting baited by her baby. It was that she was trying to draw attention away from her baby.
I've
Is the
heard
way
that
that was the
story
one that
too.
I
Mhm.
yeah, that's the one
Mhm.
that I've heard is that she was
Yep.
trying to get kind of like what is it
As the
the one that
decoy,
does it
kind
in
of.
the field kill
Yeah.
deer. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
killed
it
it.
is. They'll
Yeah,
go. Yeah,
exactly.
that was the story how I heard it was that she
Yep.
was trying to bring their attention away from her baby and that they were the last
Mhm.
ones of this.
Mhm.
And again, that
Exactly.
one goes back to the massacre too. It's like
Yep.
I don't think that I don't think that you have either of those two stories without
Yeah. Massacre.
the great massacre type thing.
And
Yes.
I just don't see that the energy, that
Mhm.
emotion, the behavior of a being that just had its family or relatives or whatever massacred
Yeah.
lines up.
Exactly.
I
Either way,
agree.
whatever way the story goes, which
Exactly.
is interesting that it's going a bunch of different ways, which again
Yeah.
leads to kind of that hoax theory. You
Yeah.
know, there's
Mhm.
just not the right kind of
Mhm.
behavior.
Mhm.
You know, it's so calm and it's just
Yeah.
walking away. If
Uh-uh.
it was me, I'd be like, well, if I die, I die because you're all going down.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes.
Right
Exactly.
with
Yes.
family.
Exactly.
I'm not going to play games. This is
Nope.
it. We're taking it to the end. We're
Yes.
done. That's,
Mhm.
I mean, I can't imagine that any being would be like, well, all right, I'm going to play some more games with you guys because you destroyed
Yeah.
my family. Like, no,
Right.
I
Right.
can't see it.
I agree, and you're right. The energy doesn't fit the story.
Mm-mm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. Interesting.
Well, yeah, it is very interesting, and
But it's
it would be
something
really
that keeps us talking, which I think is
Yeah.
cool about the whole
I do
thing.
too, and that's what
That's
I've
what's
always
cool
said.
about
Get people talking about Bigfoot and the whole cryptid area.
whatever side you're on, it doesn't matter because it still
Doesn't.
keeps us talking about it.
That's right.
Yep,
So
yep.
Patterson did that for us, which is great, I think. So who knows?
Nice. Thank you, Patterson and Gimlin.
Yeah,
Yes.
for
However,
sure.
whatever you gave us, for whatever it is that you've given us, yes,
Yes,
either the
yes,
greatest
yes.
hoax ever, or up there at the
It's
moon
either
landing. But
greatest hoax or
Well,
the greatest footage of Bigfoot
that's right.
ever.
That's
It's
right.
good.
And
one way or
It's
another.
good.
Yep. And hopefully we'll be able to see that documentary at some time in some place. I understand that they're trying to sell it to Netflix. So hopefully that gets whatever taken care of.
Whatever
So
they
that
do with it, get it out
world can
soon.
see what it is
Yes.
they're talking about.
I want to see it.
Know?
Yeah.
So
That's right. And I want to see it for free.
Yeah, me too. I don't want to pay for it.
Yeah. I'm kind of cheap that way. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm kind of a
or whatever. I don't want to pay more.
Yeah.
No,
that's right.
Sure. Oh my
That's
gosh.
right.
Well, thanks for watching, everyone. And if there's anyone out there who wants to continue this conversation, who has some facts, who knows someone who might have been there, who knows MK, who knows anyone that would like to be on the show, drop us a line. We would love to hear from you because we'd love to explore it just a little bit further. But thanks for watching the gathering tonight, and thanks for being with us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you. It's been fun.
Thanks for all your work. I know you found all these clips and you've been doing all kinds of stuff too. So fun stuff.
Yes,
Kudos.
thank you so much, and everybody out there, wherever you are, chat room or otherwise, be safe, and we love to have you join us. Follow us on YouTube, and we'll see you next week.
Please. Yes.
Awesome. Good night, everybody.
Everyone.